So this is the build I'd like you to use in TVZ. It's the same general concept. You're still going for 7 or 8 racks and 1 factory and 1 starport, and then adding 2 more starports later on as you get your third. But the difference is low ground wall-in denies scouting completely, and also makes you immune to 6 pools, which is cool, without costing you a second depot. And then you can get a high ground wall in behind that, so that even if you're forced to lift the low ground wall in, because he can surround this with like 8 lings, and you can only repair it with two SCVs. So you got to be prepared to ditch this depot and go up if he really does commit to a low ground nonsense. But you'll have the second wall in plenty of time. Anyway, first racks, then the orbital, and then just 4 racks, and then just pump marines from here, and then go to his base. You notice my first marine actually got a drone kill. Go to his base with your first marine and try for that drone kill, because why not? Trading a drone for a marine is always good. And also you can get an idea of whether he has lings already. And if he does have lings already when you get there with your first marine, that's kind of crazy. What's going on there? You know, he might be preparing some sort of all-in. And then it also allows you to make sure that he doesn't have something at the watchtower. Anyway, around 6 minutes, you just cross the field, hopefully with 20 marines. In this case, I have 17, you know, less than 20. But 6 minutes, as you're pushing across the field, you're also making that command center. So you know, never go past the 51 in depots. You cut depots there. Make the command center, make a depot, then float your racks down and wall in with them. And then just go into your normal build from here, right? With the normal build, you want to start 1-1 at 8 minutes, so that it finishes at 11 minutes, and then you can finish 2-2 by 14 minutes, just like I was saying before. So as long as you just immediately get double gas and then throw down double engineering bays behind this, you can do the exact same thing as far as upgrade timings goes. But the big difference is you have the potential to just up and win the game. And even when you don't win the game, we'll show a different one where I didn't win the game. You end up putting the Zergs on the back foot in a way that delays him and delays you, but it doesn't delay your upgrade. So it allows you to actually just, it's as if you could get upgrades in the super early game, which is really cool. I think maybe Storm was the dude. So again, I recorded the first portion of these games but without audio, so I don't know if I'm too lazy to add audio and show basically how this stuff works. But again, low ground wall in, you have to hotkey 2 workers and prepare to come down, and you have to be staring at this guy, because if he comes and harasses it with a drone, you immediately hit T on that worker and have him fight the drone, because you don't want him to start off with the drone having 1 hit on you, because then the drone will just kill you. And then that's why you hotkey other workers, so you can stop building the racks, fight the drone, and then pull the other 2 workers down here to continue the racks, and then, you know, reinforce if necessary against the harassment. But in all of these games I played, nobody ever worker harassed me. I feel like, I guess I got worker harassed like once. Anyway, I feel like Zergs are being really greedy because Terrans are being really greedy. That's the current metagame in North American Platinum. By the way, I should mention this is like mid-Diamond League. I dropped down so that I could get an idea of what the metagame is that you're competing against. So again, same thing. At 6 minutes, I push across the field with 18 Marines. Last time it was 17 because I lost one. And then I wall in with my racks, and I build the command center. In this case, I cut depots at 43 instead of 51. Then go for double gas, add another depot, same kind of thing. So in this case, I'm not going to win the game with my first early Marines. I'm just going to trade basically evenly on killing some Marines. Force him to get ling speed, force him to make more lings, force him to make spines. So if you look at his drone saturation at 7 minutes, for a Zerg to have 21 drones, that's like unheard of. He's thinking of this as an all-in. And that's not uncommon as a reaction for Zerg to make. Whereas back home, I have the same 30 workers at 8 minutes that you'd normally have. So I'm not all-inning, and he thinks I am, and that forces him to react completely incorrectly. And again, just getting as much damage done as I can. I basically trade evenly with my Marines, and that's all I have to do. So fast forwarding and locking on my camera, we see that I'm starting these upgrades around 8 minutes, like I said. So this is going to allow me to basically have 2-2 done at 14 minutes while he has this tiny economy. So the normal problem that you find with Uber Ups, Marines, Medevacs, and upgrades, right, is that you can get this window from 14 minutes until he gets Hive where you can win from, and if that Hive timing is 16 minutes, it's almost excuse me, impossible to win, especially against somebody who has really good creep spread. So you'll find yourself walking across the street, the field, losing a bunch of units, and then just kind of being dead. So and the reason that happens is because when you go CC first, he goes triple hatch. So he actually ends up with like 70 drones at 9 minutes. And even if you hit 52 workers at 10 minutes like you're supposed to, you're still way behind because he can just get an insane number of drones because he knows that you went CC first and that you're not going to threaten him in any way. So the only point of this drop is to pull him away from this army. You notice this is camera lock. I'm not even looking at this army until right now. What I did with army movement, again, move in small commands. So I moved my guys just from the inside of my base to the outside of my base, and I patrolled them so that they're all spread out like this. Now I'm going to move them here, and see that blue line? That's the patrol. So the red line is the move, and the blue line is the patrol. And whenever you're moving your army across this field, it's great to just get an idea of where his army is with this medevac. Don't put 8 Marines in it. Don't do a triple medevac drop because you want as much as you can have to be in this actual fight. So this is going to be really bad. Ooh, so bad, so terrible. But notice how small his army is, and that just all comes down to the early harassment that I did. And that he has to kind of split his army. He's afraid of what I can do in the backfield. So that fight goes really well for me, and like I said, it's all about winning that second fight. So the first fight goes well enough that the second fight it's easy for me to win. And you notice that my Raxes are rallying like actually to the fight. So this second wave that I made, just whatever was built by my Raxes in the next wave, is enough to beat his second wave. And Zergs have this larva blocking problem. You can see that he only has 4 larvae. When he's doing a big fight, he will tend sometimes to pull queens. Like, notice the queens are participating in the fight. That means they're not injecting. So for about 45 seconds, he's going to have the same number of larvae as he always does. But after that, he's going to miss a ton of larvae. So if you can have 3 fights within a 2-minute period, most Zergs will larva block in the first 16 or 18 minutes of the game. So it's good. It's important to fight early and often. Anyway, so that's the general concept here. You notice that we talked before when I went CC first about how at 14 minutes I can have 7k army spending on top of a bunch of upgrades completed. Nowhere near that in this case. I have a lot less, but he has a lot less too. So that's a big difference. But it's a good difference, man. It's a good difference. So actually, around 15 minutes, I still have 7k spent, so maybe I'm wrong. So 15 minutes, 7k spent, 2-2 completed, stim and combat shields done. So we can talk a little bit about transition as well. This build, any build in TVZ that relies on Marines, basically, is going to be useless once he starts making hive units. But you can't just stop making Marines, right? Because then you would lose the whole game, because he would just take his hive units and kill you. So you need to keep producing out of multiple racks. But the reason that you never really want to make more than 7 or 8 racks is because you want to constantly be spending, producing units out of 7 racks. But you also want to take the remainder of your income, because 7 racks infantry production is, let's do some math, baby. 7 times 250 is 1750 minerals per minute, right? So that leaves us with a whole bunch of extra money. We got 700 minerals and 480 gas that we can do whatever we want with. And early on, yeah, we'll get 3-3 with that, and we'll get stim and combat shields with that, and we'll get some medevacs with that and stuff like that. But eventually you're going to have all the upgrades you need, so you can't be spending money on that. So what are you going to do with this extra money? You're tempted to just make more racks, right? So that you can produce even more of the units that are doing so well for you right now. But you got to remember that around 18 or 19 minutes, your infantry is going to start to suck. So first off, probably don't even get 3-3. Not necessarily worth it. If you like to be more infantry heavy, or if you have an advantage already, like if you have an advantage like this, definitely do get 3-3 and just stick with infantry until you crush him. But if he's won a bunch of fights and you're still in the game, you have a big income but you don't have much army, and you have the option of either getting 3-3 or not getting 3, don't do it. Don't get 3-3. Start working on armory upgrades and just mass Thor, or air upgrades and start massing Banshee, Viking, Raven. So keep making stuff out of your existing racks, but just don't make more racks is the general point. Anyway, that's the build I would like you to use, and I'll send you that replay versus Storm, and we'll look at the rest of your games now. Just so this is just basis of comparison, so that when we look at your games, we can compare them to what should have happened, right? Because now we know that at 15 minutes you should have a 7k army plus 2/2 and infantry upgrades and whatever, right? So where is Roy? Roy 3 TVZ la win, no income. So it's camera lock. Find out what's going on here. All Roy. So the problem with this high ground wall-in, right, is that in order to deny scouting, you have to make a second depot super early. And even then, you usually can't even get the second depot in time to. So you end up having to pull multiple workers and deal with this stupid worker harass. I really like the low ground wall-in for that reason. He's stuck on the low ground with an SCV to deal with him. So, yeah, totally low ground wall-in for the win. So you're going supply, rack supply, CC probably. Yeah. So I don't like that variant at all, right? Because if you're going to go with an early CC, this is too safe. Nothing he does can kill you if you go CC first. On here. So you make a CC here, and then you make a Rax here. And even if he 6 pools, he's still not going to get in before your wall-in is done. So there's no risk of dying. So this is quote-unquote safer because you end up with 2 Marines before you even start your CC, and like, you know, you have these Marines, but you don't need them. All you need is a wall-in. He can't make roaches and get them to your base anywhere earlier than like 5 minutes and 50 seconds. So you end up with a Rax and a CC and 2 depots either way, but the difference is that if you do the CC first, you end up with more SCVs more quickly. So either CC first or go for the 4 Rax opening. This 1 Rax CC is not a valid TVZ opening. Too safe. It's good for TBT, where they could show up with a Reaper, or they could show up with a Proxy Marauder or whatever, and you just need those Marines out in time. But in TVZ, their early units are melee, so you can just wall them out. Same with TVP, really. They can't get a Stalker to your base any earlier than 5 minutes. So you can go CC first and put a bunker up at 4 minutes and be totally safe. Anyway, second thing to worry about, just income, right? Sheer income. If we go to 10 minutes, I want to be looking and seeing 52, 53 workers, like we saw when I went CC first. And obviously, because you delayed your CC a little bit, the most you can possibly get is about 50. But I suspect you're going to have even less than that, because in the last game I watched you had 30, 38. And where does missing workers come from? It comes from supply blocking and cutting workers. So in this game, it doesn't look like you cut workers at all. So you actually have 47, which is awesome. It's a great job. And I think that the reason you cut workers in the prior game was because you got roach rushed. And it's important to know that about yourself. So like, if I get attacked, I tend to cut workers. And as soon as you see the roaches, one of your first 3 actions should just be to queue up like 6 additional workers. Because you don't want to fall way behind just because he made roaches. That's not a good reason to fall behind. Anyway, so around 10 minutes, looks like you're doing pretty good, actually. You got a reasonable army size. I don't know that I like this wall-in. I guess with a Marauder in it, it's pretty safe. But he could take roaches, put them down here, and start picking away at this Rax. And another thing is, if he Baneling busts this wall-in, he's actually going to kill the bunker with the same Banelings that kill the depots. So depots in front of bunker, not a very good move. And because you don't have anything with a very long range like siege tanks or banshees, it just, like, this wall-in is, if he attacks you, it's going to be a liability, and if he doesn't attack you, then, you know, who cares what you did at the front. Anyway, we talked earlier about how when you make your racks, you want to make sure that you're leaving 16 workers on minerals so that making the racks doesn't cost you a bunch of money. And I think you made your racks 2 minutes too early in this game, right? You already have 3 Raxes with Reactor Core and Tech Lab, you don't need additional Raxes yet. Wait just a little bit longer until you have enough guys on minerals so that you can make Raxes without it costing you money, and then make your Raxes a little bit later. So again, also too many Raxes, I think. You're going up to 9, you only really need 7. And you got your armory on time this time. That's good. Dropping mules. This, where you put this turret, you do need a turret in both mineral lines, and I actually like this location for the turret. It's pretty good. But like, notice this turret placement, this SCV. Oh, not that SCV. Anyway, point is, there's usually a mineral patch in the middle that's close to your command center. If you put the turret touching that, either on the left side or on the right side, then it won't interrupt mining of this or this, and so it's a better turret placement. It puts it almost exactly in the same spot, but just over a tiny bit, and it prevents you from screwing up your mining. I don't think this turret is really screwing up mining too much, so I wouldn't worry so much about that. I just wanted to mention it because, you know, why not? You need stim before combat shields, because you need to be able to retreat from banelings and stuff. You want... I'm worried that right now, if he came with a giant army of only banelings and just rolled through here, you'd lose everything instantly and just be dead. And I don't know if that happens often enough for you to care, but if you're going to have your Marines just sitting in a pile, it's nice to have them pre-spread so that if banelings do come when you're not looking, that you don't have to try to spread while dying. Scanning this third is a bad move. Never scan anything. You don't care what he's doing because you can't stop him from doing it. It's not going to change when you push out. It's not going to change what units you make. You have a bunch of reactored racks and a reactored starport, and you're working on 2-2. You can't change what you're doing in any way, so what do you care what he's doing? Anyway, you're going up to, it looks like 11 racks? Oh no, you just moved those racks up there. So yeah, 9 racks, tons of reactors. Again, as soon as 2-2 is done, you want to be maxed and pushing out. I really doubt that's going to be the case. Even though you did so well on workers this game, and you got tons of money, and you have enough money to max out. Like, look at this. You're already at 160 supply. You could theoretically definitely max out by 15 minutes. This double drop, I don't like at all. I like the double drop as your army is pushing across the field, but wait until 2-2 is done. It's so close to being done. Wait until stim is done. Dropping without stim is like, oh, it's like half of dropping. Stim's not even going to be done in time for 2-2. This build did not time out very well. Empty the bunker when you go. Land the third as you push across the field. Use the drop to distract him while you push across the field, which is kind of what you're doing. That's great. But the drop should have landed a little bit later. Like, you should be... What you should do is send the drop here, and then just ignore it until it gets there, right? Because it can sit here as long as it wants. He's not going to kill it over there unless he has mutas, and if he has mutas, you're going to win. Then, so you grab your drop, you send it over here, and then you grab one Marine and you send it to this watchtower. And then you grab your whole army and you send your whole army to the watchtower, stimming the front Marine so that he gets there long ahead of time. If you see his army, that gives you enough time to retreat or to spread or whatever. You never just want to be blindly walking across the field. Like, his army could have been sitting right here the whole time, and you would have just gotten ambushed. Also, this snake walk kind of thing, you never really want to cross the field in a giant snake like this. Just kind of silly. So you did really well economically in this game, and I think you're going to overwhelm him just with sheer macro. But a lot of the things you did there were wrong. Also, you have a ton of gas and nothing to spend it on, really. It's like you're going mass pure marine with just 2 medevacs at a time, and you're kind of cutting medevacs really early, and you just have no plan to spend your gas. So as you push across the field, your gas is piling up and piling up and piling up. Also, you're rallying to right here rather than rallying across the field. I'd like you to rally to his watchtower or your watchtower, something threatening so that you can do a second attack right away. Because if you look, at the end of this attack, he has 1 larva, and he hasn't injected his hatcheries. If you had rallied to the front, he still wouldn't have injected his hatcheries, and you would make another fight. And sure, maybe you'd lose that second fight, but the longer he goes without injecting his hatcheries with only one larva, the more dead he basically is. So it's really important to always have that second fight about to happen. Because now you're going to give him 2 minutes, and that's plenty of time for him to realize that he hasn't injected his hatcheries, go back and inject them, maybe even create additional hatcheries, remorph some banelings, pre-spread his units, make some spine crawls. Like, he's doing all these defensive things that he wouldn't be able to do if you were rallying all the way to the front. You're lucky that you got to land that. Always send a Marine to kill the Overlord before you send the command center. And this is too many guys on both your main and your natural, right? You want to move some of your dudes to your third. And again, you're kind of crossing the field blindly, and you're taking a small portion of your troops and walking them across the field in a ball. I don't like that at all. Every time you attack anywhere in any matchup, any of the 3 matchups, it should always be with your whole army. 8 Marines are never going to do anything useful. Unless, the only exception is if you're walking across the field with your army, you can send 8 Marines somewhere else at the same exact moment, right? Because if you send 8 Marines now, they're all dead, and then you do a drop, these Lings can actually be to his main before the drop lands, because it just wasn't timed perfectly. Like, it's really important for things to happen literally exactly at the same time, not like within a minute of each other, because their units just move so quickly. This drop stops mining for a little while and distracts him while you move your army across the field. Again, a good principle. You want to be using a drop to distract him as you cross the field. But look how you're crossing the field. Your army is in this weird Congo line. Your medevacs are way out in front. Nobody mining at your third. Tons of money piling up. No plan to spend your gas. So again, I think you are going to win this game because you have way more money coming in than him. But look at your income, 1,500. You remember that game that I showed you before this? Like, it was 2,400 was the income. You kind of you can check with your maths, man, maths. You say I have 64 workers. I only need about 300 gas a minute, right? So minus 6 for the 300 gas a minute, and then times 40, and then plus 3 mules is, what's a mule? It's like 140? Yeah. So you should have a 2740 mineral income with a 250 gas income. That's what you should have with this number of workers and number of mules. You might not actually have a third mule, so subtract 140 from that, so you get 2,600. So in my game it was about 2,400, in your game it's about 1,700. It's a really big difference, and that's because you got oversaturation going on over there. The earlier you pull dudes off of your main and your natural and start mining at your third, the longer your main and natural are going to be able to mine, which is just going to give you a bigger and bigger income over the long haul. And again, this game is over. You never really went up to 200 unit space. So there's something, again, you started adding racks at around 10 minutes, and that's way too early. And you never really finished off your depots. So what you want to be doing is actually waiting 2 additional minutes. At 12 minutes, go straight from 3 or 4 racks all the way up to 8, right? So you throw down an additional 5 racks or 4 racks or whatever. And at the same time, finish off your depots. Just go all the way up to 200 unit space in depots, right? Because from 12 to 14, you're going to go all the way to 200 unit space. So you're making armies so quickly that you're just never going to be able to keep up with 2 or 3 depots at a time. So just make tons and tons of depots. Because you don't want to be looking at the game 19 minutes in and say, oh, you know what, I'm supply blocked at 177. Like, what? It's 19 minutes in. I should have enough depots. Anyway, this game's kind of over. You do multi-pronged drop harass and whatever, but it almost doesn't matter what you do at this point. You're so far ahead on income. As long as he doesn't get ultras, and even if he kind of does get ultras, you still should be okay. So whatever. Let's go to the next one.